Welcome to the Shenandoah Valley Economic Development Forum. Today we are in Highland County. You will notice my informal attire again. It's becoming a theme, but there will be a reason for this, as we will talk about later. Have a number of guests today that will be talking about placemaking, broadband, community development, economic development. What we want to do is to celebrate what is happening in our rural communities. So let's get started. My first guest, come on Henry, is Henry Budzinski. He is the director of the Highland Center and a member of the Highland EDA. So welcome Henry. Thanks for hosting us. We appreciate you being here. Let's talk about the center, and then you can talk about whatever you'd like.
Well, thank you for being here. We appreciate you coming to Highland County, and especially here at the Highland Center. The Highland Center was built in 1922 as the school for Highland County, and it served as a school till 1998. And at that time, a group of citizens got together to turn this into a community and economic center for the county. And so in the ensuing years, they knew that the building had to be renovated because it was 1920s technology and furnishings and building. And in 2016, they completed an extensive renovation of the building. We have high-speed broadband internet via fiber optic.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about some of the amenities. So yeah, let's talk about that because this is more than just a simple renovated building.
Yes, no, this was built to support the community on the economic side for business incubation and also for community venues, community development, hosting community activities. We have GED classes here. The school does programs over here. The Highland County Arts Council does programs here. We have a whole cross-section of the community, from the entire community, using it here on that. We just had an event, a concert over the weekend, had over 100 and some people there.
Talk about some of the amenities that are available for the public or people that are interested in using the center that could come into Highland County and use.
Yes, we have a co-working space downstairs that could handle with the COVID situation between 6 to 10 people. We have a meeting space. We have a boardroom where people could meet in small groups. We have an event room set up for meetings that will host conferences or groups of people, and that could hold anywhere from 15 to 20 under the COVID situation, a lot more when not. And also we have this nice auditorium that we're in to hold even, they're smaller events, but to meet social distancing requirements, we could use this. And we have the high-speed internet, and as part of our business development, we also have counseling available through SCORE and other
for the smaller businesses
to help businesses in developing their product.
It's nice amenities to be able to offer for the citizens that are here, but plus for people that are wanting a retreat or come in, and you have the infrastructure and the capability to do that.
Yes, and the center is not only for local residents. If people are visiting Highland County for a vacation, a weekend, they're more than welcome come to use our facility.
That's a good point. Yeah. Thanks for that. Finally, Henry, the question is, where are you trying to take the center? What do you see for the future of it?
The center, we're building it to be the economic and community development center of the community. That's going to be the focus of us here in the next year, is to build on that, to help the community grow its businesses and attract new businesses and co-workers or teleworkers into the community.
Yep.
And we have the space available to support that.
So really trying to be a part of the focal point for the economic development, community development for the community.
Yes.
That's great. Well, thank you. It has been a pleasure having you here, and it's been a pleasure for you hosting us. I appreciate that very much.
Thank you for coming.
All right. Thanks, Henry.
You all have a good day.
All right. Thanks. Next guest is Chris Weaver, who honoring COVID, is going to bring his own chair over into the camera. Welcome, Chris.
Morning,
Chris
Jake.
Is the president and CEO of Lance Construction. and has the distinction of the company that built the center, which I absolutely love. I was able to see this center right after it had been completed with Betty Mitchell, who will be next, but I am a huge fan. But you have quite a history in rural communities, and you're doing more than just the claim to fame of the center here, and I'd love to hear about what you have going on in Highland County right now.
Sure, Jay. Well, thank you. Lance has had the pleasure of working on, over the last decade, a number of projects here in Highland County. One being the Highland Medical Center, which was a renovation and an expansion for improved community health services here in Highland County. Fun fact that facility houses the first elevator in Highland County. And then, while Lance did not build the Highland Center in 1922, we were a part, as Henry mentioned, the renovation in 2016. And again, as Henry mentioned, a very multifunctional building for the benefit of the community, both on a social services basis as well as an economic development basis. And we're currently working on the Highland Inn, which is a mainstay of Main Street, Monterey, a building that's been well over 100 years, and that project is under construction right now for phase one. So we're excited to be a part of that one.
Yeah, I want to get back to that, and I'm going to talk to Betty about
Sure.
that as well. But just for those of you watching, this background does not do justice to the level of craftsmanship in the Highland Center. It is absolutely gorgeous, and that was one of the things that struck me when I first saw it. I mean, the floors and all of the other facets of the school that you kept, and you can still see that it was part of the school, yet it's been updated and really modern. The Highland Inn project is an exciting project for Highland. Tell us what's going on there. We've got a rendering behind us here. I know from the public it's hard to see, but it's exciting to drive in and see that you're working on that.
Well, currently we're in what's called phase one of that project. So it's a renovation of primarily the port structure and some structural members around the facade and the interior. So it's just the beginning of a project that's going to take at least one more phase, maybe two, but it had been in disarray for a number of years, so we've got to rebuild it.
That's great to see that coming along. In terms of the impact of projects in a community, I don't think that most people understand sort of the economic impact of when a construction company is working on a project like this, the involvement of the small businesses and the impact that you have upon the communities. Can you speak to that a little bit? Because I think that the audience would appreciate, they don't know that the indirect benefit of construction is pretty deep in a community.
Well, it is, and all the projects that we do are for a reason, and that reason is our client's reason. And in some cases, it's improved community services. In some cases, it's economic development, which can be job growth or productivity expansions or improved healthcare. I mean, you name it, there's a reason behind it. So part of that reason that we're doing our work leads to ultimately the community, certainly the Shenandoah Valley as a whole, being a better place to live and to work. So we're proud to be a small part of that, if you will, evolution in progress.
That's a great segue to my last question. Lance is celebrating its 60th anniversary. What are you doing to celebrate that?
Well, fortunately, we have a number of activities. As a company, we're not big into bells and whistles or dog and pony shows, but we sponsored in a Touring Our Towns segment this year, which highlighted a number of communities throughout the Shenandoah Valley area, highlighting their economic development. Certainly this COVID situation kind of here in 2020 threw a twist on that sort of thing. Yes. So fortunately, we converted some of those Touring Our Town segments more to public service announcements just to try to help out in the community. We've also participated in a Habitat for Humanity house building project.
That's a great project.
Partly in celebration of our 60th, again, to give back to the community. And again, part 60th anniversary, part COVID pandemic, we've had the opportunity to participate and volunteer and help out a number of different healthcare and assisted living organizations here throughout the year. So we feel pretty good about, celebrating our 60th and giving back to the local community.
That is a great inspirational way to give back to the communities. And what was the inspiration for doing that? Is it because you've done so much work in the rural communities that that idea came up?
It has been. I mean, that was certainly part of it. And, we know that also, this year has just been a challenge for, so many people and so many organizations. And we thought we'd just do our best to kind of chip in where we could.
Before you go, why don't you tell people where they can find the videos for the touring our towns? Can they go onto your website?
They can go onto our website or our Facebook page, and I'm sure WHSV.com has them there as well.
Perfect.
So, as well as a lot of the local communities who have been a part of that have it on their a lot of times their tourism or economic development links there too.
Yep. You have a YouTube page or?
We do.
Facebook? Okay.
We do. We do. So if you just type in touring our towns and pick the town here in Virginia, it ought to pop up.
Perfect. Chris, thank you very much.
Thank you,
We
Jay.
really appreciate the opportunity to talk with you. Appreciate what you're doing in the rural communities, rebuilding the rural communities.
Thanks, Jay.
All right, thank you. Next up, Betty Mitchell. Betty has said I should do no formal introduction, but Betty and I have known one another long before I've worked at the Shenandoah Valley, and I've known her longer than anybody else in Highland County except Robin Sullenberger. And Betty has been a part of the center, and one of your passions right now is the Highland End.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
Jay,
let's talk
you've got
about that.
Let's do. So Bluegrass Resource Center is currently the owner of the Highland Inn, and we are just delighted to have Lance Construction working with us on phase one. We will have to have subsequent phases, and if there's ever a good time to be closed as a hotel, I guess during COVID, that's it. So that's kind of our silver lining
Unfortunately,
right now.
but I'm glad that you're looking at a very optimistic way at the
Yes,
opportunity.
yes. And I think when Chris was talking about being in the community, I just want to say that as townspeople have stopped by, you mentioned it's really the heartbeat of the community, right on Main Street. And as people have stopped by, it's been so wonderful to see the Lance guys stop and take a little time and answer questions, and that makes such a difference. And for a project like this, where we're doing private fundraising as well as working with government agencies and raising money, it makes all the difference in the world to see the pride in the construction, crew working on it, and the ability to stop and talk about the inn and let people know how important it is. So we appreciate that they've done that for us as well.
That's great. Now, you notice that Betty said something about private fundraising, and if any of you have
That's right.
sources, I'm speaking to the audience now.
We only need $3 million to keep going, so here we go.
and that poses some challenges
It definitely
this
does
time,
during
doesn't
this
it?
time, because we understand that, human needs are so real right now, and a construction project, as important as this is to our economy and to the community, certainly can take a backseat to human needs. But we are working hard to try to raise that funds and keep going and keep the momentum up.
Yep. Well, you actually just mentioned something that is a lead into what I wanted to next ask, because it is more than just the Highland End.
Right.
What else
Right.
are you working on in terms of the community development and economic development, and how this all is a part, the center and the end, with what
Right.
you're working on?
As you say. We have a wonderfully dynamic EDA group right now and have 7 members, and they're very active in a variety of projects. Certainly the Highland Inn is one of those. We have just spent quite a few hours with CARES Act grants for businesses, and about 30 businesses businesses have been helped to the tune of roughly $170,000 as a
That's
result
awesome.
of that. So we're glad to be able to participate and try to do what we can to help our businesses that are here for us during some really tough times. Some of the other projects that we're working with through Department of Housing and Community Development, they have a grant through USDA for community initiatives in smaller areas to help with capacity building. We've got great partners, you've got many of them here today, and just trying to kind of help a small community of 2,200 people pull together.
That's another point, yes.
Pull together and really be able to use our assets to the maximum here. So we'll be looking forward to doing more with that. And I think Chris with the Chamber is going to be talking with you a little
Yes.
bit more about resident attraction programs. But those are all things that are very important, obviously, to us, as well as the relationship with the Shenandoah Valley Partnership and our partners regionally to take advantage of some of the Go Virginia projects that are coming down the pike that are helpful for
Yes.
us to partner with.
Yes, and I'm trying to help with that. I'll actually be mentioning that in my portion
Sure.
coming up. But
Sure.
we're excited about but first of all, I think that is a big number for Highland County to be able to assist with your businesses.
Absolutely, and we're so pleased the Board of Supervisors has made that funding available for us to be able to help those businesses.
In a community the size of Highland, helping one business makes a big impact.
It
So
does.
I applaud the efforts that you're taking there. Given, we'll finish up sort of with the topic that we started with the COVID, the opportunity for teleworking and broadband is something that we're pushing on behalf of rural communities. You're certainly interested in, but talk about the broadband, here in Highland and the opportunities there, because then I'm going to follow up with Chris Kyle on that.
Sure, and he has a much bigger picture of this, but from Highland's perspective, we're served by two different providers as far as internet goes. So we have Highland Telephone Cooperative, which serves the western part of the county, including Monterey, and they have a wonderful fiber project underway, and about 500 households are now on that, and all of their members will be by 2025. And so that's available here in Monterey. MGW provides the eastern part of the county, and that's a private, not a cooperative, but a private business, and they're working on trying to expand their coverage as well. And the Highland Bath, or Bath Highland Network Authority has formed, and so we have a number of EDA members who are involved with that and constantly looking out for opportunities to grow both cell service and broadband. And I think the governor's just released money through the CARES Act that we'll be looking into for sure to see if there's some public-private opportunities there as well. So it's certainly on our radar. Depending on where you are in the county, there's some absolutely wonderful coverage. So we encourage any business that can do business remotely and people who might want to consider living here to check us out.
That's an opportunity, definitely.
Absolutely.
Well, and I'm also pleased that you have members of your EDAs on the authority as well. So
Yeah.
you have policymakers who can influence the provision of the infrastructure here in the county. So that's important that you have
Absolutely.
that citizen involvement there.
Absolutely.
So, well, thank you, Betty.
Well, thank you
Really
all for
appreciate
being
it.
here. We're just delighted that you came to Highland. Appreciate it.
Oh, it's exciting to be here. And for those of you who have not been over here recently, you need to see the leaves. It was a beautiful morning driving over. So thank you, Betty. My next guest is Chris Cobb, who is the VP with Shentel, knows a little bit about broadband and economic development and community development. And welcome, Chris.
Thank you, Jay. It's great to be here today.
Betty was talking about the broadband. You've been engaged in telecommunications throughout the valley in a way. Tell us about some of the projects, what you have, Shentel has, and what you see in the industry that's going on in the valley right now.
Certainly. I think that to start with, to pick up with some of what Betty was talking about, this problem with broadband in rural areas, is not unique to this area. It is a difficult one. To that end, the governor is providing more and more money. It is difficult and expensive. Those are some of your best kinds of problems to attack. And so money is part of it. And there is today, through the Virginia Telecommunications Initiative, grant funding. Betty also mentioned some CARES funding. There will absolutely be some more CARES. So there's going to be more both at the state level and at the federal, but the state of Virginia has been pretty successful of allocating some money in some tough budget times because this is such an important issue. And I think that, Chantel, from our perspective, we look at this of leveraging that grant money, but also would look at, a problem like this that is difficult and thinking that, this community, this area is an important thoroughfare. Right? And that thoroughfare also can represent some opportunities when you're trying to co-locate or locate a cellular service. And so that tower that could provide cellular service can service two purposes. And I know Highland is looking at this as what's the right location for a tower that could do some cellular and then also have an additional radio that could provide something called fixed wireless for broadband. And with that, then you could find a private provider and apply for some grant funding. Chantel itself, throughout the valley, we have just purchased some spectrum to do more of this activity for fixed wireless. We believe we have a two-faceted approach where we can provide fiber to a home, to a business. We want to provide that fiber, but that is very expensive. And so where there's not density, where the cost economics, even with grants, don't exist, we believe everybody needs wireless broadband or some form of broadband. They need wireless connectivity for cellular. That this fixed wireless could be an option. It doesn't provide as fast a speeds, 100 meg or below, but it can provide enough connectivity to work from home, to learn from home. And so we have a variety of initiatives in the valley where we're building fiber through a new brand called Glow, and we're actually overbuilding in communities, Stanton City, Harrisonburg, Winchester, things like that. But then what's going to follow here in the near future is a fixed wireless broadband play where there's not density.
Wow, that's exciting to hear, because I know that to your point earlier, and I didn't know the nomenclature about the wireless side, but it's now a necessity for people. That's right. Which leads into the next question. Go ahead. It looks like you wanted to add more.
No, there's lots we can jump into.
Yeah, there definitely is. You just mentioned something. Because of what we're experiencing during COVID, so many people now are using the broadband, need the broadband for doing their work. There's a lot of discussion going on about the permanence of the teleworking.
Yes.
Of course, we, and you have been a part of this, are very interested in companies that are interested in teleworking. But what do you see as the permanence? Is this a blip, or do you think that this has really set the tone for where we're going with both our work habits, with the necessity for broadband connectivity?
I think before the pandemic, you had a minority of people, you being one of them, Betty, I know I've heard from her, that identified, especially in rural communities, the need for the ability of telework. The pandemic put a very fine point on the need for that, where it wasn't just in rural communities and in specific situations, but it's across the board. And while no one knows where this is going, I think our belief, Chantel's belief, is this is not a blip. And this can actually be a point of differentiation for regions like the Shenandoah Valley, that it has some wonderful benefits of quality of life to offer, that a region that is adjacent to major metropolitan cities with very low cost of living, and wonderful surrounding educational support institutions. And so I think that if you look across the trade press, most people are looking at this as a significant long-term change. And within that context, I think our region stands to be a tremendous winner if we continue to facilitate, this broadband infrastructure. And I think we've got a rich ecosystem of people, working on this today. Betty, talked about some of the providers here. In Virginia, we've got a variety of electric co-ops. We work with some of them. They are very active. We want to do more work. I think there's more partnership. We're at the very tip of this. But as they take their co-op partnership method and begin to upgrade their facilities, their poles, and pulling fiber there, again feeding into this grant money that's available. So I think there is a lot more to come in addition to the wireless capabilities, because the federal government, it's a staged approach. The FCC has been very aggressive on this. With things like more federal money, which is there in addition to the state, as well as additional capabilities for wireless spectrum. This wireless spectrum that can go further, propagate further, provide higher speeds. So there's more to come. I think that people in the industry are absolutely preparing, predicting, assuming that this is not a blip. And I think what's really exciting in this area is with your support, with your leadership, with the people that identify the attributes of this region, this is an area that we can really, excel in.
Yeah, well, that's exciting to hear about where you see it going. And now if we can just get that last mile, which I know is the most difficult part just from a logistic standpoint and certainly a monetarily point, that's fantastic. But we are excited about the ability to reach out into the communities now. All right. Since you don't have enough in your life to do through work, Chris is also the chair of the Shenandoah Valley Partnership this year and the Go Virginia Region 8 Council. Chris is a very busy gentleman right now. Why don't you tell us about a couple of the projects, maybe more than two of the projects that are going on at Go Virginia level?
Well, I think there are a lot of synergies between the two groups, and I work for a company. Chris said his company's 60 years. Is that right? We're just over 100 years, and companies that have been around a while understand the better the communities do that we serve, the better we're going to do. And it's that kind of long-term focus that I think has been the key to success for Shentel. And you can't have a long-term focus without thinking economic development. It's what you do. I get excited every time I hear about workforce development or any of the long list of projects that the ideas you've brought to us over the past 2 years. I think Go Virginia is just another organization that I'm incredibly excited about. It provides grant funding for economic development stimulus projects. We have, through Jay's work, a site development project. One of the challenges of our region is we don't have a lot of sites that are ready to be developed. And this is $1 million grant project that will bring a variety of projects across our region, from Winchester to the Lexington area, up to a certain level to make them more attractive for, and easier to be developed for businesses looking to expand. So that's just one. We will have more workforce development grant projects to come. We understand how important that is for the growth of our region, and some of that gets right back to some of this telework that you're talking about. And then I think, last of all but not least, there is grant money similar to CARES, but there is grant money for businesses that have been impacted by this COVID virus. And so if you're watching, if you're listening, please reach out to us at Go Virginia. Ashley Schickel is a new person that we've appointed, and Joni Island and myself, and a very energetic board, all of which would be happy to talk with anyone that has some questions. Jen Weaver and your organization helps a lot. So yeah, I love the teamwork aspect of it. It's so many things I could talk about with Go Virginia are all of the things that Shenandoah Valley Partnership represents. And so I come back to kind of the synergies between the two, and we're all working together for the same goal. And that's kind of foundational growth for this area.
I will agree. It has, and we couldn't have scripted it any better, I think. I'm sorry that you're aging very quickly during this process, but it really is a perfect opportunity to marry both. What I like about this is the private sector involvement with the Go Virginia and our private sector involvement with the Shenandoah Valley Partnership, because we can't do it without the private sector. Just what you were talking about from the infrastructure standpoint and the service provision standpoint. So it's really, it's exciting time that you're leading the Go Virginia and our organization, but some of the projects that are moving through Go Virginia. So really appreciate that, Chris.
Great.
Thanks.
Thank you, Jay.
And I'll try not to age you too quickly. Chris gave me a perfect lead in to my update now. One of those is a Go Virginia project that was discussed and we just briefly touched on earlier, but is the Business Scale Up Project, which is a second stage growth project. It is a grant that we work with our localities on to identify companies that are poised to go the next step, are in the growth curve, and would provide the resources to that. That is specifically and was adopted to help the rural portions of the valley, but also the underserved regions in the valley. And that can be in the cities as well, where they don't see the traditional economic development as we've always talked about it. I will tell you also, Chris was mentioning this, we inexplicably are probably the busiest that I may have ever been with project activity. We've had a project last week. We have a project in today. Travis Carter is working a project as we speak. Today we have a visit tomorrow and a visit Thursday. We are 25% above where we finished the calendar year last year, and we just finished the third quarter. We will not complain about this. It's exciting. We're going to work as hard as we can to extend all of those projects as much over our geographic territory as possible. But just know that even though COVID has changed some of the behavior of companies, they're still out there and they are still working. And Chris Weaver can attest to that, because it's projects that keeps him in business as well. One of the things that I think has helped us is we have transitioned into virtual meetings in a very aggressive way. We have been able to leverage our dollars in a way that we had not been able to beforehand. So we have participated in numerous virtual events, just like this one today. We're going to continue to do that. We had a consultant event, which was a lunch and learn 2 weeks ago with site location consultants. We have had outreach with consultants. I've participated in an organization called Consultant Connect that is a nationwide program and was even asked to speak before the national audience there. So we are thrilled at how we are leveraging our presence and those of our localities in the private sector that help us to get the word out to the community at large. We are working on our first in-person FAM tour, familiarization tour with consultants, coming up November the 12th and the 13th. We are excited about that. We have 6 very noted consultants that are going to be visiting the Valley on the 12th and 13th. Are excited about that. We will be making sure that we are protecting them and us, but we have a lineup of virtual tours, in-person tours. Very excited about getting consultants back on the ground here. And I think they are too. That's the reason we have 6. We have a virtual meeting. Our winter forum is coming up in December 15th. You'll be receiving information from Carrie about that event, but that we're excited about moving forward with that. And then finally, this is something that Chris mentioned, and we've talked about it a lot today, and our next speaker is going to talk about it some more. But the integration of traditional economic development does not stand alone any longer. It is predicated upon the work at the community level. It's predicated upon the work with tourism. It's about placemaking, and it's about the workforce, talent retention and talent attraction. Carrie Orbaugh in our office is working on a new site that is a companion site to the Shenandoah Valley Partnership site. It is shenandoahvalleyliving.com. We will be working on this site to build it, to add the information that will be a tandem with the Shenandoah Valley Partnership site, so that we can talk about the amenities as we have been talking about here today in Highland and in Page and in Rockbridge, so that there are opportunities to work in the valley and live in the valley as well. So we're very excited about that. So I will now transition into our last speaker, who is Chris Swecker. Chris, join us. He is the head of the Highland Chamber. And Chris, we've talked about some of the things that you're involved with, and also the reason that I am wearing this t-shirt that he will talk about. I'll give you the back view. Hey, and I didn't turn anything over, Carrie. Chris, tell us about the chamber and your mission here.
Yeah, so the Chamber of Commerce, we strive to lift up local businesses and entrepreneurs. We promote Highland County, and we champion economic prosperity and quality of life. So all the things that we've been talking about so far. We do that in several ways. We obviously provide resources to our members, whether it's individuals, nonprofits, businesses. One of the main things we run is highlandcounty.org. We just had a revamp of that website, so go check it out. It looks fantastic to obviously promote, advertise for people here beyond our borders in the county. We obviously collaborate with many other organizations to let people know about what's going on here and talk about our businesses. We run events. We have 3 big events. One we just had, Hands and Harvest Festival. That's our fall festival. We did a hybrid event this year where we went virtual as well, like everyone, and that was our first one. It went well. We did that Thursday before, you know, we're learning like everyone, but it was really interesting. We have a video, you can rewatch it as well, that really showed what our community was about. So we enjoyed that. Of course, we run the Maple Festival, always the second and third weekends in March. And we also are the Destination Marketing Organization. I'm actually executive director of the Tourism Council, which is a subcommittee of the Economic Development Authority. So we all work really hand in hand in the small community and help with our visitor center when that's open after COVID. And again, just promote the county.
Yes, Betty told me a long time ago that all Highland citizens have multiple roles
Absolutely.
that they play here, make it work. And I think that actually brings in a lot of the richness that it makes the valley and Highland County. We were talking about the quality of life in the community and getting people in here. What are some of the things that you are working on, and what is it that makes you excited about Highland County? I mean, you're a young guy, just a little younger than me, and yet you have come back. You laugh too quick.
I know. I was like, it was a mistake. No.
Tell us, what's the attraction? What do you think people should know?
Well, I think Highland County, I mean, I grew up here right in Monterey and left for a while, went to JMU but Highland, I think if anyone's been here, you know it's a really unique place. I mean, there's rural communities, but Highland being in the mountains here, not only the beautiful scenery, but the people. You hear it all the time. I just love coming there. You're kind of friends with everyone. And, you know, there's a lot of innovation here that people might not hear about. We can talk more about some of that, but we have our food scene here is just incredible. I mean, particularly with the maple syrup, which we'll get into in a minute. But I mean, we have we have the first and only certified organic maple syrup producer here in Virginia. That just happened a few years ago. We have the first and only commercial black walnut syrup producer that just started last year. So there's things like that. Here in this community, you can really make an impact if you're an entrepreneur, particularly. There's not a lot of competition. You know, Highland's not a place where there's a Starbucks on every corner, but that's not a disadvantage to us. It's the advantage. You can really make an impact here.
Yeah. Talk about you talked about the tourism destination aspect of your job. Talk about a couple of things that people should know about in that regard.
Well,
and you've got some brochures.
I was going to
there.
say,
yeah, please hold those up.
Obviously, with your shirt,
Yep.
This is a new initiative that we have. It's the Virginia Maple Syrup Trail that we just started in September. And you can pick up a passport, and these are available at 8 welcome centers in Virginia and local businesses. You can get a hold of the chamber, and we can gladly send you some. But it's similar to the Beer Works Trail. You know, you can go to different craft breweries, but here you can go to 8 sugar camps here in Highland. That's what we're known for. We're, you know, people call us the southern maple syrup capital of the U.S. But you get your passport, you can get different stamps. I know you probably can't see it. Once you visit all 8, you get a free merchandise prize, and that's the shirt that you're wearing. And you get a little bumper sticker, but it's really all about agritourism. And you get to see these farms, and each of them, they're all unique. They have different techniques. It's all the same syrup, but again, there's different tree syrups, there's infusions. So it's a really fun event for the whole family.
Yeah. And in a non-COVID period, when you have your Maple Festival, how many people does that attract to?
It's tens of thousands. It goes, I've heard from 30,000 to 70,000.
Yeah, that has to be a phenomenal impact upon Highland County.
It's huge. And unfortunately, you know, it's right there in mid-March, right when everything came down, and we had to cancel it last year. And it's going to take some time to recover from that, but we're holding steady, and we're already looking at next year to try to make that safe and successful. We've got to keep moving ahead, but it's huge. Yeah.
Talk about the quilt
trail.
That was hard for me to say.
That's all right. We also just came out with our Highland County Barn Quilt Trail brochure. Actually, this trail has been going on since 2011. There's several barn quilts, if you're not sure or not familiar with that, but they're colorful wooden quilt squares that you can see all around the county. Highland County actually had Virginia's first quilt trail, and we're continuing it. We just expanded it. There's over 50 barn quilts you can take a look at, pick up this brochure, and it's just another, as if the beauty of the mountains and the leaves weren't enough. You can see how many of these you can find, but they each have a story behind them, and it's just another part of the community aspect here.
Yeah, it's really pretty when you drive in and you see these on some of the barns. That is great. Okay, what is your one thing that you would recommend for people to do in visiting Highland County?
Right now, it would be take part in the Virginia Maple Syrup Trail, really. I think that if you want to get some of the hospitality we have here, if you want to see some of the innovations that you can do in a rural area, and just take a leisurely ride. Contact one of the syrup producers, let them know you're coming. Contact several of them, you know, stay in one of our lodging facilities, and just really enjoy the day. I mean, just getting out here in a slower pace, but again, slower pace doesn't mean we're not innovative and got a lot going on here. Yeah.
Exactly, and I think that what you just said is part of the message that we want people to understand about our rural communities in the valley, is that we have communities that are aggressive and are moving forward, have plans to move forward, and we so much appreciate young people who are coming back and are living that and are excited about it too.
Yeah, you can do it. I mean, a big plus here too, I'll mention, you know, you can probably buy a house and some acres of land here that you might pay, you know, rent in some of our bigger, more congested areas. So particularly now, as we're seeing, as everyone's talked about with COVID, the fact that you can telework why not work in a beautiful place like this, get the job done, and your commute can be seeing the beautiful leaves and not stuck in traffic. So,
Exactly,
yeah.
exactly. And I think that there's a great opportunity for that. And that's something that Shenandoah Valley Partnership is going to work with all of our communities on to try to promote that. Because we do have a good opportunity with our proximity to the different markets and certainly the quality of life, which is part of what brought me here is here. So
Great.
thank you, Chris,
Thank you.
very much.
Appreciate the time.
Do we have any questions? Yes, okay. Henry, I've been requested to have you back on the screen.
Don't understand why.
Okay, I could do that. Did we lose that? Okay. What we would like to do is do part of our Q&A that we started off with for you because we lost part of that during the early stages when we were having some technical difficulties. So what I will do is talk about, oh, these are great. Now I got to make sure I ask the right questions. But talk about the history again of the Highland Center.
Oh, the Highland Center was originally built in 1922 as the schoolhouse for the county. And it was an active schoolhouse up to 1998, and the building was going to be vacant. Well, a group of citizens came together and didn't want to see this beautiful structure vacated, so they decided to turn it into a community center and a center for economic and community development. So they did that. A lot of volunteers came together, and they knew that it's a 1920s building, that it had to be brought up to modern standards with high-speed internet and that. So in 2016, we completed the renovation of the building, which turned it into this beautiful facility today, which is here for, the community events, to support local community organizations. And the biggest part is business incubation and supporting local businesses to help them grow and prosper.
That was part of the vision, wasn't it?
Yes.
For Highland County is to have a place that is not only for the citizens, for the businesses to use as well.
Yes.
And I think that that's probably an important part to talk about some of the amenities. That's part of your vision, but what are some of the amenities here that businesses can use?
Yes, the biggest amenity we have here is broadband internet served by fiber optic throughout the whole building. We have business incubation space. We're home to the Chamber of Commerce to bring businesses in. We have co-working space, which could serve anywhere from 6 to 10 people in COVID. We have meeting and event space to have meetings there, which we have set up for COVID, the COVID situation. And we welcome everybody to come. And the beautiful thing about the Highland Center, it's not only for our local citizens in the community, but if we have visitors here.
That's where I was going next.
Yes, if we have visitors, they're more than welcome here to use our facility. And we want to see businesses come out and visit our county and, conduct workshops and conferences here.
So a business could come in, use this as a retreat. You could use it for small meetings. You could set up in many different ways, correct?
Yes, small meetings, large meetings, we'll support the business any way we can.
Yep. I have to give a plug, again, you probably heard it, but with Chris Weaver and Lance Construction, because they were able to integrate all of the modern technology and did a phenomenal job, again, with this facility in terms of the appearance, but its functionality as well.
Yes. There's very little things that change, and they're more personal things. And if you could get a project done where you only want to tweak things personally, that's one heck of a project.
That's a win, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Exactly. We'll go over the last question that I had for you when we began, and our audience didn't hear it, but what's your vision for the Highland Center?
What we want to see the Highland Center is the center of economic and community development here for Highland County. We have business incubation services. We partner with SCORE, bringing counselors, other local businessmen to help nurture and grow small businesses. Or if an existing business is struggling, we'd love to help them and put an outside view on it, something that the owner is too close to to see, and we want to nurture and grow businesses.
Tell people how they can get in touch with you, Henry.
My name's Henry Budzinski. I'm the executive director here, and my number is 540-448-1780, and I could be reached at henry.budzinski@gmail.com. And feel free to call me any day of the week. You know, I'm here to support our community, and we just want to advance Highland County, Monterey, and the Highland Center.
Just like everything else, is only 1 or 2 clicks away on the computer, and you can go back to that address and get it. And Highland is such that it's not that difficult to find people here as well.
No,
right?
there's no place I can hide, unfortunately.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, Henry, thank you. And thanks for introducing yourself, because I was going to wrap up with that, because I realized I just called you over without the formal introduction.
That's fine. I want to thank everyone for coming here to Highland Center and using our beautiful facility for this event. It's great to work with everyone here.
Yep. Well, it is a pleasure to be here. Carrie, do we have any questions? Without that, then I want to thank our audience, and I want to thank all of our guests. You did a great job. We really appreciate you accommodating us here. We are excited about being in Highland. I always love coming to Highland County. Our winter forum will be December 15th. You will get more information on that. If you have any questions about the Business Scale Up program, don't hesitate to reach out to me or any of the staff. We will get you in touch with the right people and can take care of helping with the applications and so forth. To all of our investors, public, private, can't do it without you. You've heard some of the involvement from the private sector today. We can't do that, and we can only be successful in economic development when we have this kind of participation and the commitment to work throughout the region available. So we really do appreciate your commitment to community development and to economic development here. If any of us can be of assistance from the Shenandoah Valley Partnership staff to any of our businesses, please just call us. You know, oftentimes it's not what we know, it's who we know, but that's the way that we can get things done, and that's how we move forward here. So until next time we meet, thank you very much. Take care, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.